the unfortunate thing is that we are very constrained by the ability of our systems to measure and to get data. So when we truly look at measures of effectiveness of leaders, it's not always something that we can measure. And if organizations are startup organizations, I would suggest that they really focus on getting the data and the data integrity correct.
How do you guys get it right, and how do you continue to promote that culture of data, in your HC function, but also in the overall organization?
In the larger organization.
100%.
I think it is still a journey for us. So there's been a lot of discussion around the importance of data. We've got dedicated functions looking at data and what data is important and what data do we need to share with our clients.
Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode where we're talking data, AI, innovation and technology and the future of business. My name is Themba. I'm your host. Today I'm sitting with Adele Van Wyk, Division Executive at Momentum Health. Yes. Adele, welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much for making the time. We understand that in HR there's always something that's moving.
True.
So for you to make the time to be with us today, we really appreciate it. I would like to invite you to introduce yourself to our audience, to our viewers, the best way you know how. Don't leave anything out. You might as well even share your favorite color if you wish. Over to you.
Thanks. Yes, as Themba said, Adele Van Wyk. I am a divisional exec at Momentum Health. That forms part of the Momentum Metropolitan Group. And been there for the last 21 years. I love what I do and I love the organization that I work for. I stay in Centurion, have 3 grown children, have been in the business for quite some time. And as Themba said, favorite color, I love the color, magenta, that type of color, one of my favorites. Thanks, Themba.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want us to talk today about rethinking HR in the digital age.
Yes.
And my first question to you is, since you started in HR to where HR is today,
yes,
what's different? Let's start it there.
Yeah. So I think, and I don't want to use the age-old Dave Ulrich thing about being a strategic business partner, but that's really what has changed now. I started many years ago, 1991, I think.
Okay.
And HR was a very transactional, we were still doing work study and very transactional work at that point. So what has changed for me is that we are now strategically involved.
Okay.
And for me, it means as much as the other executives and CEO is accountable for the success of the organization, I am also accountable for the success of the organization as a human capital person, and so my whole team.
Yeah.
And it means that you are part and parcel of formulating strategy, executing strategy, enabling the business to execute strategy, and being a strategic partner to your CEO and to the executives, is helping them from a people perspective to ensure that we are sustainable and can deliver on our strategy and our purpose. So it has moved from perhaps very transactional, where it is about meeting SLA and executing the recruitment, the ER, all of those which are extremely important, but looking at it from a strategic lens. And then contributing to the success and performance of your organization as a people expert. So I think we've seen that move in the industry and in human capital, which is very exciting and very satisfying from a job satisfaction perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that opening. What do you like the most? And you may have answered this, as part of your opening, but I wanted us to be specific with this question. What do you like the most about being in HR today?
I think there are lots of challenges now. We live in a country that also has quite a few challenges that spills over into the business and the employee world. So we've got economic challenges, we've got crime, we've got saturated markets. So what I probably like most about being in HR is the complexity you deal with.
Okay.
It is the fact that you are dealing with a very complex environment and with a human being that is a complex system, as I said before, in that environment. And as a human capital person, you have to solve for those employees to function optimally.
Okay.
To deliver on your organization strategy. Now that sounds simple, but there are quite a lot of things involved in that. So I enjoy the challenge that we have today in HR, the fact that we have new technology available, there's data available, the world is thinking analytics and technology.
Okay.
And you know,
the world is thinking analytics and technology. I love
yes,
that
yeah,
part.
they're really
point.
going in that direction, and I think, you know, we might be at the place where we're exploring that and implementing some of that, but I think there's a vast ocean of possibilities for us there.
Okay.
If you can enable your business with predictive analytics, so that they can make decisions based on predictive, you know, views of things that might happen. I think it can be very proactive instead of being reactive.
Yeah.
And it's challenging and exciting to work in that world where we can start exploring that. Some of it we have used in the past, but there are, I think, a lot of possibilities still open for us to explore.
Okay.
And to utilize that to improve our efficiencies, but also to improve the effective management of the organization that you work in. From a people perspective, you know, there's a lot of possibilities there.
How are you getting it right in your space? How are you approaching it?
I think we're still early in our space. So, or that's my sense. We have been using a predictive tool that measures our climate for a while. So for a few years, probably 7 years. So the tool that we use is a climate survey, but it includes predictive analytics and stats that can actually tell us where we will have turnover intention, where we might see burnout, where we might see a lot of absenteeism, where we might see illness, where we might see, presenteeism in your business, all the risks from an employee and organizational outcome perspective that you want to address. So this tool has helped us a lot to hone our interventions, or that we implement, so that we don't implement interventions without really understanding what it is we want to fix. So the tool helps us to understand what are the symptoms we see, but then also what are the drivers of those symptoms.
Yeah.
So instead of, if I use the analogy of a river and there's like a rock in the river and you standing downstream and people are drowning and you're just fishing them out, you can now go upstream and stop them from falling in the water. No, so it's that, and you can do it proactively. So that is one way we've applied it in our business, from a predictive analytics perspective, so that we can warn, and it's very, very accurate, warn our leaders that we are seeing high turnover intention in their teams, and we can start working actively and proactively to find out what is happening there. The tool tells us what the drivers are, and we can implement interventions, very targeted. And then we do that measurement on a yearly basis to test whether our intervention has actually worked. Yeah. So that piece of data is really helpful for us to be targeted and to be proactive. Then we also use a lot of data from assessments that we use to ensure that we employ the right talent, but also that we utilize our talent in the business correctly. You might have, people with particular skills and abilities that you won't know about unless you really understand their makeup and what they're good at. And we utilize those assessments to then place them in the right positions. Otherwise, you end up with people in roles that they are not 100% effective in.
100%,
and your
100%.
strategy is not executed effectively. So we also utilize it for that purpose. Then I've mentioned that, we've asked an outside provider to help us to develop analytics at the back end of SharePoint.
Okay.
Yeah, which is part of our Microsoft suite that we use and the Teams suite that we use. And those analytics needs to help us to understand the behavior of our staff.
The behavior of the people.
Yeah. So that we can manage it better from a human capital perspective. How much are they accessing knowledge management, and what are they accessing? How much training courses are they accessing, and what are they accessing? How much time do they spend on it? What of our communication that we do as a team do they access? What do they look at the longest and the most? Which days of the week do they access that? So that we can, what time? So that we can very targeted send out our communication. So currently, just as an example, we've had the most hits and activity on a Wednesday afternoon for some reason.
Okay.
And that's when we send our comms out. That's where we seem to have the most, people looking at our comms, reading it, being active on it.
Yeah.
So it just helps us also from that perspective to refine our approaches so that it actually makes a difference in the business, and that it's not just, without understanding the behavior of our staff, it might not be as effective.
Yeah, 100%. You're not looking for a black hat in the dark.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. I like that. But I mean, it sounds like you guys are on top of your game. What could be the challenges that you continue to, to encounter in this journey? It sounds to me like you've got everything figured out.
No, we definitely don't have. No, we definitely, Themba, you're being very kind. No, we definitely don't have.
Do you know why I'm saying that? Sorry to interrupt you. I'm saying this because a lot of our clients that we actually engage, I don't think they were, where you are.
Yeah.
I understand that it's still a journey for you guys to really get to the predictive stage.
Yes.
Yes, you can be doing a prescriptive and descriptive and stuff, but we're finding that predictive, phase stage is actually, a mission for most businesses.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying it sounds to me like, what you're doing at Momentum Health sounds to be quite advanced. So I'm curious to understand what could be that one or two challenges which you still, deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think as I said, we use a tool that helps us, and it's a yearly tool, it's an annual tool that we utilize that tells us some things that are predictive. But I think we could help line management better if we had more predictive analytics that we could utilize in the business.
Yes.
So I think we can build on that journey, definitely, and expand on that.
Yeah.
And then we haven't dabbled in, our business has dabbled in machine learning and AI. We haven't dabbled that much in it. I know there are companies overseas that do utilize machine learning as an example for a good culture fit for your organization. Do you have a good culture fit? Scrutinize everything this person does and then can predict that with a 98% success rate.
Yes.
So we haven't dabbled that much in it. So that is something I think we can expand further. How can AI help us in our training environment? How can AI help us with selection? How can, all of those things.
100%.
Yeah, and then I do think there are some basics that need to be right. So you need to have a culture that understands the importance of data. I said to someone this week that I do need to work with my team to understand the importance of data integrity and the utilization of data and consistency of data. If you don't have that, it's really difficult to pull data, use it for predictive analysis, build reports because there's no consistency and the integrity is low. So we really have to work at that. And then I think, as I said, we've had to build in analytics in some of our processes because I do think the main system we use from an HR perspective gives us limited ability to measure.
Okay.
And that is a little bit problematic. So I'll give you an example. We've developed a leadership effectiveness scorecard where we really want to measure the effectiveness of leaders as leaders. How effective are they? We tend to measure employees, how effective are they in executing their jobs. A leader's job is to be a leader. Now, how do we measure that effectiveness? And
that's quite important.
Yeah. Because, if you look at all these stats that are published and a lot of the info available, oftentimes people leave organizations because of leaders.
Someone said that, yeah.
Yeah, and because they're unhappy with leaders. So we have developed a scorecard, but we've done it based on the pipeline, leadership pipeline, which is managing others, managing leaders, managing business function, and managing business. And the unfortunate thing is that we are very constrained by the ability of our systems to measure and to get data. So when we truly look at measures of effectiveness of leaders, it's not always something that we can measure. We don't have the data for it. We don't have the measurement for it to put in place. So I think there are things that we can definitely improve. And if organizations are startup organizations, I would suggest that they really focus on getting the data and the data integrity correct.
So getting the data and the integrity of the data correct, is very important. But I want us to take it back to the culture.
Yes.
Because before the integrity, the quality and everything, it starts by everyone understanding.
Exactly.
How we're going to interact with data in our organization. How do you guys get it right? And how do you continue to promote that culture of data, in your HC function, but also in the overall organization?
In the larger organization.
100%.
I think it is still a journey for us. So there's been a lot of discussion around the importance of data. We've got dedicated functions looking at data and what data is important and what data do we need to share with our clients. But from a culture perspective, you really have to translate it into behavior for the individual that works with the data.
Okay.
And a system needs to support that. So if I only want a numeric value captured, then the system should only allow you to capture a numeric value.
Okay.
And not a sentence or a word. And it's also working with our teams to understand what they need to capture, how they need to capture, why it's important. And I think the why is often that creates the understanding.
Okay.
Why is this important? Because we utilize it in reporting to our clients. We utilize it to show value. And similarly for human capital. We do need to show value to our business, and that's not about meeting an SLA. That isn't value. That's your job. Value is above, on top of that. So we try to share and create understanding about why data is important and what are the things you need to do to enable us to utilize data.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's your culture. And culture is about how you behave and what you do and how you interact. So we really try to focus on teaching our people and educating and creating awareness around the importance of data, what you should do and how you should deal with it. It doesn't always work. People are people. But I think it is important that a culture is focused on the understanding why data is important.
100%.
Yeah.
And how did you ensure that you get support? How do you ensure that you get support from business? From management, from the board, from whoever needs to be injecting some, capital to these exciting initiatives? Because some businesses, I know they're struggling with that. They're struggling to get buy-in. It's not perceived as a matter of agency.
Yes.
We've been going on for some time without the need for us to suddenly, become a data-driven HR organization.
Exactly.
Or something like that. So how did you ensure that you get, the leadership, for lack of a better word, to support, you on this journey?
I think I'm very blessed to work in an organization that has a huge data focus and also has an aspiration to be fully data driven. And in addition to that, I'm also blessed in an organization where our CEO allows the experts to develop their strategies and directions and to implement that as they see fit to support the organization. So it really is not a matter of getting the buy-in. It's really creating understanding about the strategy you want to follow and getting your team to implement that strategy. Mm-hmm. So I really haven't had to create buy-in. I've had to make sure that whatever we do supports our strategy and that is clear to our executive team. If I always say to my team, if we do anything that doesn't contribute to the strategy, then we should stop doing it immediately.
Okay.
So we don't measure and utilize data for the fun of it or because it's nice and because it's the latest thing. We utilize it and measure because it will contribute to the organization strategy. And help leaders be more effective in implementing the organization strategy. So if you can show that, I think that helps your business case.
100%.
It helps you really to engage with your executive team to help them understand where you're going and if they can see the value of the data. So when I started with the tool where we utilized predictive analytics 7 years ago, it was a bit strange. I shared with them what we will achieve with the tool, but they were a bit strange about it. It was new.
Which I suspect that's where some of the businesses are out
Exactly.
there. They're still where you were 7 years ago.
Exactly. And the value that they then see, that's the important thing. If it doesn't add value, don't do it. If it adds value, show the value and share that.
How do you know it? How do you demonstrate? How did you demonstrate that's going to add value?
So in this particular instance, the tool is very predictive and very accurate. So we can literally, they started seeing this. They started seeing the value. It took about 2 years, I think, of them having to trust that they will see the value. We had year-on-year improvement. So I think that helped a lot.
Okay.
So we utilized the tool. The next year we did it, we saw some improvement, and they were going, "Oh, wait, you implemented interventions, and they actually showed a marked improvement." Today we are at the stage where teams are actively engaging with the results. Leaders are actually engaging with the results, and it also forms part of their leadership effectiveness scorecard. Is their performance on this tool as well. And they've seen movement. So if we've said to them, there's going to be turnover intention in your team, and they see the movement, they see the actual turnover the first time, then they start engaging with it. Similarly with assessments. If you can show that your assessments can accurately predict performance in a role, and they can see when you warn them about something, that it manifests in the role, then they start utilizing it and believing in it. And it takes time. You have to be patient. You have to continuously show the value. And it might start with your exec team, and it might not be as vested in your senior leadership team, but you continuously have to show that value.
I get you.
And share with them the actual times that you employ someone based on the data from an assessment. You've warned them that you might see this and this behavior. It won't be beneficial to this role. When they see that behavior, they realize, wait, this assessment was actually quite predictive. And similarly with, as I said, the tool that we use. So it's really time and showing the value.
100%.
And if you can't show the value, then don't implement it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Yeah, sure. It's quite interesting what you're saying. I'm loving the fact that you've started this journey, a while back and stuff. Then my follow-up question with regards to the entire process, in this journey that you've been in to digital transformation or HR innovation in your space and stuff. What are the 3 questions you constantly have to ask yourself to ensure that you're heading to the right direction? If you can think of, it doesn't have to be 3, but I mean, if you can get to 3, it will be great.
Yes.
And maybe we're starting. What questions do we need to be asking?
Yes.
We're on the journey. What questions do we need to constantly be asking to ensure that we're still pointing towards, our destination?
Yes. Yeah. So I think the first question I would ask is, what is the requirement, or what are the gaps that we see to support the business in data and AI and innovation?
Okay.
Might be HR innovation, might not be analytics, but what is the gap that you see that will support the delivery of strategy in your business. So for me, the purpose of the business and the strategy of the business is really important. If you are not adding value to that, I wouldn't do it. So I would look at what are the things that I need to address. Second thing is, what would make leadership decision-making more effective?
Okay.
And look at the tools available to do that. And perhaps my third question, and they may not be the most important ones, but that's coming to mind now, is really understanding what is available in the market in terms of innovation and in terms of technology that you can utilize. We, as an example, don't have the ability to build new things ourselves. You know, we worked with an outside company to build us an employee app internally on your phone that we could use. But we don't always have that ability. So sometimes you have to partner with external companies that are, that are tech companies or innovation companies to actually help you, especially from a tech perspective, to implement. So if you're starting, I would really look at those things, that 20% of things that will make the 80% of a difference for your leadership and your organization to implement. What is really going to help them in decision making and execution and all of those things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my last question with regards to what we've been talking about now, before we get into maybe the future skills for HR leaders and all those, what still keeps you up at night?
Sure. What keeps me up at night? I think you've mentioned some of it now.
Okay.
But it is really, do we have all the right capabilities in our organization for the future?
Okay.
We're getting a younger generation that are tech savvy. They engage on tech, they date on tech, they do everything on tech. Now, I have young children. So are we ready for that? Are we ready for the future tech innovations as an organization? Do we have the right capabilities in our organization? We're starting to ask those questions. So 4 or 5 years from now, what is the world going to look like, and are we ready for that world?
Are we ready for that?
Yeah. Can we support that world? Can we sell to that world? Can we service that world? And can we do it in a way, in a channel, in a language that they understand? That is our new market, up-and-coming market. As teenagers today is our new up-and-coming market. And what does that market look like? It varies from those who are massively tech-orientated to some who, has never had a smartphone in their hands. Yeah. How do you work with that community? What skills do you need to build in? What capabilities do you need to build in your organization? And we're starting to work on that. And it's a massive question. We need to be ready to support them. Yeah.
On that note about readiness, what are the future skills for HR leaders? And I mean, I'm assuming one of those will have to be data acumen, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tech savvy, all those type of things. But I mean, is there anything outside those?
Definitely data and tech savvy.
Yeah.
And if you're not, and I think you need to be an early adopter also.
An early adopter,
yeah,
100%. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, I tell my team always that you can't use a hammer for everything. Yeah, you sometimes need a different tool.
100%.
So they need to have quite a few tools on their belt. And to do that, you need to have the tools on your belt before your line manager has it on his belt. Otherwise, you can't support him. So if you're not an early adopter of tech, I think you need to become an early adopter of tech and data. And you need to get involved in the latest trends and understand where it's going and what are the possibilities to utilize in your organization to become more effective as a human capital team. So that definitely is one of them. And then the world is just so complex. I think as a human capital person, you need to be able to deal with complexity.
Okay.
So change, as we all know, and we know about the world before midnight and the world after midnight. Before midnight, change was accelerating slower than the human being could interpret and, incorporate it into their beings. Today, it's accelerating faster. than the human being can comprehend, incorporate, make it part of their being. So we need to be able to deal with that complexity. It's tech, it's the world around us, it's the global village, it's the type of skills that are complex that our organizations need.
Yes.
It's the complexity of the strategies that they implement, the complexity of organizations that are perhaps now global organizations. It's the complexity of hybrid work or remote work.
Yeah.
People don't come to the organization anymore. How do you engage with them? How do you get them committed and engaged in your organization?
100%.
So I think definitely one of the things that I think human capital experts should be able to deal with is complexity.
100%. I'm tempted to want to create a movement and nominate you as the president of the future of HR.
Oh my goodness, no!
We must establish an organization, term it the future of HR, and appoint you as president.
No, I think there are many skilled people that can do that. I'm just very passionate about where we're going, and I love the utilization of technology because I think it is the future. People still, I think I've got a tech person in my team.
Yeah.
That looks at technology for us. He looks at way of work technology and other technology we can utilize. He'll say that I still phone him to help me with tech a little bit. But
Okay.
I am very open to the implementation of that.
100%. The following question, I'm suspecting we might have touched on it.
Yes.
But I wanted us to have a focus, as part of our discussion. It's around people analytics.
Yes.
Where are you? To what extent, are you leveraging on your people insights? And I know you've talked about earlier about having engagements on Wednesday on your some of your communication and stuff and turnover, employee turnover and stuff. But what else are you using this people analytics for?
So we do focus. There's a lot of people analytics that we use, a lot of data that we use. Whether it translates into wisdom yet, I'm not sure. But we measure our processes in terms of, if we go to very transactional, we measure our processes against our SLAs. Because we do have SLAs within which we need to deliver transactional work. So we do those measurements. We do almost what I call work architecture, or HR world calls it work architecture analysis. What roles do you have? How many of those roles are in different job grades? How many of those roles are in different families, have been classified as in different families? What does your span of control look like per leader? One leader might have 30 people and the other one person reporting to them. You look at how many levels you have in your organization, and we always try to limit that as much as we can, because the more levels you have, the more difficult it is to communicate through your organization. It becomes slow and cumbersome and heavy. So we use data and data analytics for that. We do, as I said, we use assessment data to place people in the right roles and to make sure they are a good fit for our roles. We do reporting to leaders that help them understand their teams, their leave utilization, where we have problems in terms of leave, people that continuously take Monday and Fridays and Wednesdays, as an example. It's very small things, but it helps especially the team leader and manager level manage their teams more effectively. We look at overtime payment. We look at our leave provision and where that stands at the moment. We look at data like, how many CCMA cases do we have?
Okay.
And what payments are being made there, so we can manage that.
Yes, 100%.
And in my view, you should have as little as possible. So that's what I'm driving with my team. So there's quite a lot of very transactional data that we use. And as I mentioned also, we're trying to build analytics at the back end of our processes that people engage with. We've got a knowledge management system where all our institutional knowledge lies. So if I'm in a contact center and someone phones the contact center and they ask me a question, and I can't remember the answer, I should be able to find it on the knowledge management system and quickly get it.
100%.
So we look at what do they engage with on there, how much do they engage on there, what is it that is never looked at, all of those types of things. Who attends our events, how many events are attended, all of those types of things, to help us actually be more effective and efficient. So they're not so predictive, but they do help us as a team to be more effective and efficient.
Okay.
And a leader, especially the team leader, I think manager level, to manage their teams. I think where we are lacking a bit is, as I said, in the predictive stats that you can use strategically. We do utilize them, we have some of them, but not to the extent that I would like.
Okay, 100%.
Yeah. So I would definitely want us to spend more time there. Yeah.
Okay. I want us to address the elephant in the room.
Yes.
AI.
Oh, AI.
Can I make the assumption that because you haven't got you haven't figured your, predictive analytics, you haven't got your
Yes.
predictive analytics right, can I make the assumption that you're still lagging behind on your AI initiatives?
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's not something. We do utilize AI. We utilize Copilot. We've got some chatbots that can, from a human capital perspective even, help employees in their onboarding space, but definitely not to the extent that I think we can. So from an AI perspective, we use it to, as an example, Copilot, to help us to be more efficient. Take notes for us while we have meetings, write things for us that as a first draft, that type of thing. But that's really efficiency focused. We really want to use it as part of line of business in human capital. How do you utilize AI in your training? So we work in a client-facing environment. So how can AI represent the client and give you a real client experience when you're in training? Currently we have a almost one-dimensional client experience in training, where the person that sits in training interacts only with the system and they write notes and they write a test. But what if we could simulate a client? And have, through machine learning, have intelligent responses to the way the agent is handling the client. So from that perspective, from AI, there are things that we can do there. I know there are companies, as I said before, in the US that actually use it in selection. So they use AI to ensure that this individual is a good fit. So through many interactions, machine learning has identified traits in a human being, and from the interactions on social media that suits the company. And they, my understanding is, have a 98% accuracy and success rate in placing someone. We don't use that. I think it will just make us so effective, and also eliminate the repetitive manual work in human capital, so that we can focus on the transformational strategic work to make your organization more effective in executing their strategy, and then obviously perform better. So there are many instances, I think, that we can utilize it better. We aren't utilizing it at the moment. And that's also one of the gaps that I see. Even though we utilize data and some predictive analytics, we're not utilizing AI and machine learning in human capital. Our organization is utilizing it in line of business for the business, but not necessarily in human capital. So I think that's an area that we can focus on to improve and to become more effective as a team.
100%.
Yeah.
I want us to start wrapping up.
Okay.
Just got two more questions for you.
Yes.
The second last question is, what are you excited about? What are the things that you still like to do, you still want to do in your space? And I know you've just summed up now to say you want to use more of AI.
Yes.
But if you were to kind of think about it holistically, what would it be to say, we are still thinking about the following things,
Yes.
If you don't mind sharing that.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So one of them is, as you mentioned, AI. So we are thinking of what is the best way to utilize AI in human capital,
Okay.
and that is available and that can be implemented. Yeah, and I think there's many possibilities there. Then I would really like to get our organization ready for the future from a capability and skills perspective. So there's a lot of work that I want to do there to focus on how do we move our organization phase by phase, because you can't do it slap bang one
No,
shot.
no, that's not possible.
Yeah, so over the next 5 years, how do we ready the organization?
Okay, 5-year plan.
Yeah, sort of to
Okay.
get to the future scenario.
Okay.
Yeah, and there are a few scenarios that can play out, but we've got a different client at that point, and a different range of clients at that point, and how do we cater for them?
Okay.
And then I'm very passionate about effective leadership. I honestly believe that leaders should not have a negative impact on people so that they eventually end up unwell. And the measurement of a leader's effectiveness, I think it can still evolve. I'm very passionate about that. I want to get to the place where I'm very accurate in measuring leaders' effectiveness,
Okay.
and can then work on either getting the leader to be more effective if they're not, or putting them in another role so that they don't have a negative impact on our staff members.
Okay.
If you have clutter or things that distract your staff member, they can't be productive. It's just not possible for them. They're focusing on something else. So we need to get leadership to be more effective. So that is definitely one of my passions that I want to focus on in the organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any advice to businesses who have started on this journey, and those who have started but still in the still very early in their journey? I mean, you've walked the path already.
Some, yes.
What's your advice?
Advice for people starting the journey, I think be very selective. Really understand what is required in your organization and what will make the biggest difference, and focus on getting that in place and showing the value. I think it's important that we understand the need in our organization. If we don't do that, you bring in data for the sake of data, or AI or analytics for the sake of that. It needs to have a purpose and it needs to add value to your organization. In human capital, it can add value to effectiveness and efficiencies. But you really want to display and you really want to make a difference from an organizational perspective. So understanding that, what is the need and what will fill that need?
What's the need? What will fill the need?
Yeah, and find the best fit for your organization. We have constraints, we have realities, we have financial realities, we have... don't give up because you can't do it financially. Find a fit, or find the skills that can build it for you. There's a whole gig community out there that we can actually access and utilize to help us to realize our dreams. So I would say really understand the need of the organization. Find the tools that will show value, and then show the value. Over time, your leaders will buy in because they can see the value that it adds to them. Yeah.
I just remembered something as we were talking. That's the advice for those who are starting on their journey.
Yes.
What about those who are not treating this as a matter of agency? We can live with it.
I think it's going to catch up to you. If they don't attend to it. It's that thing of all these animals that lived previously but don't exist anymore. They didn't evolve. And if you don't evolve as a human capital community, you won't have a right to exist in your organization, but you won't be adding value.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Evolve. That's a very important word.
And it is really about, it is going with where the future is going. So in the future, we are going to be technology and data driven and focused, and even perhaps terms that I can't think of now and don't know of. So if you don't focus on it and you don't make it a priority in your organization, someone else will, or you won't exist as a team.
Please describe to us, the leader who understands what it means to evolve. What are their qualities? How do they think?
Yeah.
How do they behave?
So I think, one, there's a curiosity there.
Okay.
If you're not curious about things, you won't know about the new things out there.
Okay.
And then there's also courage. So you need the courage to step out to do something.
Okay, seems like we're on a C movement.
Yes.
Curiosity, courage. What's the third C?
C1. Let's think of a C1. So I think there's definitely curiosity, the courage. Oh, complexity. There is a C. Yeah. So it's a good understanding of complexity and the ability to see the trend and the gap. Yeah. So I need to understand the trend. I need to see where the gap is in my organization so that I can fill that. And I think the leader out there is someone who's decisive and can implement, because sometimes you need to make the decision. Okay. I'm going to go with this. This is what I need, and I implement it. And then also I think the ability to engage with your executive team. And it's not about
communication.
Yeah.
That's the fourth C, communication.
There we go.
Communication.
Now we've got 4 Cs.
Now I've got 4 Cs.
So it's about that ability to communicate with them and help them understand the why and the value that they will see. I think that's the type of leader. You need to be open to listen to the team that you have.
Yeah.
I am in the generation before, with the phones that you use your finger to dial. I'm from that generation.
So maybe the fifth one could be change management,
Change management, yes.
Yeah. C number 5, fifth C.
Fifth C is change management.
You have to you have to be able to embrace change. You have to be able to
change readiness, change openness.
Change readiness. I think I love change readiness.
If you are not change ready, problematic for you, because then you become extinct. And listen to your team. Embrace your team that are younger, that work with the technology, that are excited about the technology. Listen to them and utilize their skills and their understanding. If you are, where I am, if not, and you're one of those younger people, then utilize the technology you're exposed to. Yeah. Get excited about it.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
We should be writing a book together. We'll title it The 5 Cs.
I think that sounds exciting.
For leaders who... the 5 Cs for HR leaders which understands the word evolve.
Yes, we'll think about a title.
That's where it started.
Yes.
We can think about it.
Yes. The 5 Cs not to become... to prevent you from becoming extinct. Something like that. We'll work on it.
Let's recap. First C, it was curiosity.
Curiosity.
Second one, it was courage.
Yes.
Third one, it was complexity.
Yes.
Fourth one, communication.
And change.
And the fifth one,
change resilient.
Change resilient. Change readiness.
Change readiness. That's the better word. Yeah. That's nice. I also love that. I'm going to use it, Themba.
See, there's a benefit after all for coming to the podcast.
It is, I need to remember that. Yeah.
Put them for you down in an email.
Thank you. I haven't thought about them as concisely as you've now summarized them.
Yeah. No, they're very effective.
Yeah.
They're very effective. I mean, we didn't think about this. We didn't plan this, but I mean,
exactly.
As we're talking, it makes sense. Out. It makes sense.
It does make sense.
Anyway, I'm trained to follow a process.
Yes.
Things make sense to me when they follow some sort of a process.
Yes.
To say, for all this to happen, firstly, you must be curious.
Yes.
You need to understand what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Don't get left behind. I love the saying, don't get left behind.
Absolutely not. And it's easy to fall back on the status quo. But the status quo is dangerous. Before you know it, you don't exist anymore. There's a few companies to whom that have happened. So you don't want to be in that space. And, for me, diversity in thinking, all generations, every type of person, really helps you to think about really innovative things. And that's really important.
100%.
Yes.
We've come to the end of our discussion today. Any final words?
Final words from my side is just really that as a human capital community, we need to focus on and to understand the benefit and the value that AI and data analytics can bring to us and to our business. It's not a well-researched and understood field, but it is the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
100%. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Themba.
Thank you
for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for coming through. There you have it. That's Adele Van Wyk, Divisional Executive at Momentum Health, discussing HR in the digital age. Hope you found value from our podcast. Be on the lookout for our next discussion. Cheers for now.